Ethan Carter had exactly 20 minutes to reach the interview that could change his life forever, until he saw a stranded woman on an empty road. One decision help or walk away would destroy his chance at success, or unlock a destiny he never imagined. But what Ethan didn't know was this. The woman he stopped for wasn't just a stranger. She was the key to a twist that would turn his entire life upside down. Asterisk, the morning air felt unusually sharp as Ethan Carter stepped out of his small, aging apartment. The sun had risen only halfway, casting a faint golden glow across the quiet neighborhood. But despite the calm atmosphere, Ethan's heart was pounding violently in his chest. Today was not just another day. Today felt like the thin line between who he was and who he could become. He adjusted the worn-out tie around his neck. It wasn't new or stylish, just an old tie his father used to wear to work. Ethan kept it as a reminder of the man who taught him the values he lived by: honesty, kindness, and hard work. Values that the world often ignored. But he still held close. With a deep breath, he clutched the folder in his hands. Inside it were his certificates, recommendations, and a resume he had edited more times than he could remember. Today was the job interview with Horizon Motors, the most respected automotive corporation in the city. Everyone knew the company's name. Everyone wanted to work there. And Ethan? He needed this job more than he needed the air he was breathing. Rent was overdue. Groceries were becoming a luxury. His mother's medicines were piling up on the counter with unpaid bills. This interview was his only real chance to change everything. He walked quickly down the sidewalk, avoiding cracks, stepping around puddles from last night's rain. The city was waking up around him, shops opening, buses rolling past, people hurrying to their own routines. But Ethan barely noticed any of it. He was too focused, too anxious, too hopeful. He checked his old wristwatch. 9:10 a.m. 20 minutes left. Enough, but only if nothing went wrong. He boarded the bus and took the first empty seat. As the vehicle rumbled forward, he stared out the window, rehearsing answers in his mind. What motivates you? Why do you want this job? What makes you different? He knew the answers. He had practiced them over and over. But something inside him whispered that today wasn't going to be easy. A sudden jolt of the bus pulled him back to reality. Traffic was unusually heavy. Cars crawled like tired insects. Several streets were blocked due to ongoing construction. Ethan's heart sank as each minute slipped away. He checked his watch again. 9:17 a.m. The bus stopped, then moved a little, then stopped again. His stomach tightened. Sweat formed on his hands. He couldn't just sit here, not when his entire life depended on reaching the interview on time. He stood up, pulled the stop cord, and jumped off the bus even before it fully halted. He landed on the ground, almost stumbling, then sprinted forward. His footsteps echoed across the empty side street. His breath was loud, fast, uneven. But he didn't slow. He couldn't. Just a few more blocks. He whispered to himself, "You have time. You can still make it." Little did he know, fate had prepared something that would test not just his timing, but his character. Something that would appear in the middle of the road and change the course of his life forever. Ethan sprinted down the long stretch of road, the interview building still blocks away. His lungs burned, his legs ached, but he forced himself to keep going. The city noise faded behind him as he entered a quieter part of the road, almost too quiet. Birds perched silently on electric poles. Cars passed occasionally, but no one stopped. The silence felt heavy, like the air was holding its breath out as Ethan turned a corner. Something caught his eye: a silver SUV parked crookedly on the roadside, steam pouring from underneath its hood. The engine hissed angrily, sending up little clouds of vapor. And beside the vehicle stood a woman alone, anxious, waving desperately at passing cars. Ethan slowed, torn between instinct and responsibility. His heart whispered, "Keep running, you'll make it." But another voice, his father's familiar moral voice, echoed inside him. "Son, no good deed is ever wasted." He took a step forward, then stopped again. Time was slipping. The interview was slipping. But he couldn't ignore the panic on the woman's face. She looked helpless, checking her phone repeatedly, shaking it in frustration. Probably no signal here. Ethan exhaled deeply and approached her. "Excuse me, ma'am. Are you all right?" he asked. The woman turned sharply, relief flooding her features. "Oh, thank God. You stopped," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "My car just died. It started smoking, and I can't get it to move." Ethan glanced at the hood, then at her worried expression. He checked his watch. 9:18 a.m. He had 12 minutes left. He could help. quickly, maybe, or he could keep walking and pretend he never saw her. The woman spoke again, her voice shaky. I tried calling roadside assistance, but this area seems dead. No signal at all. Her eyes lifted to him with a pleading look, one that begged for help without saying the words. Ethan inhaled slowly. Let me take a look, he said. Unable to stop himself, her shoulders relaxed in relief. Thank you. Thank you so much. Ethan placed his folder carefully on the ground and lifted the SUV's hood. A wave of hot steam burst out. The coolant tank was almost empty. A belt was misaligned, and something smelled like burnt rubber. This wasn't a 2-minute fix. His heartbeat quickened. He whispered internally, "Oh no, this is bad." He wiped sweat from his forehead and looked at the woman, who was pacing nervously behind him. "This might take a bit," he said gently, "but I'll do my best." She stopped pacing and nodded. "I really appreciate it. You're the first person who even slowed down." Ethan forced a small smile. People didn't stop for others anymore, not in a world where everyone was always rushing somewhere, chasing something. As he examined the pipes and wires, he felt a strange prickle, almost like he was being watched. The woman's eyes were studying him closely, almost too closely. But she quickly looked away when he glanced back. He shook off the unsettling feeling and focused on the engine. Every minute passing reminded him of what he was risking. Every second reminded him of what he stood to lose. But still he kept working, because that's who he was, and because this moment, this choice would decide the future. He didn't yet know was coming. Ethan rolled up his sleeves and leaned deeper into the steaming engine bay. The heat was intense, almost burning his fingertips each time he touched a metal surface. The awful smell of overheated coolant mixed with burnt rubber filled the air, making him cough. But he didn't stop. The woman stood nearby, wringing her hands, watching him like he was her last hope. He checked his watch, 9:20 a.m. He still had a tiny chance, if everything went perfectly. But life rarely worked perfectly for Ethan. The radiator hose had a small crack. The coolant tank was bone dry. The belt was slipping out of its track. It was chaos under the hood, exactly the kind he didn't have time for. He whispered to himself, "Come on, focus. Fix what you can." The woman stepped closer. "You really didn't have to stop," she said softly. "You must be on your way somewhere important." Ethan forced a half smile, struggling to hide the panic rising inside him. "Yeah, important. But helping someone is important too." His father's voice echoed in his mind again. Character isn't tested in comfort. It's tested in sacrifice. He tightened the bolt, shifted the belt back into place, and scanned the problem again. His fingers were shaking now, not from fear, but from the pressure of time slipping through his hands like sand. 9:25 a.m. 5 minutes. He felt his stomach twist. The woman noticed him staring at his watch, and her expression fell. I'm making you late, aren't I?" she asked quietly. He looked at her. Her eyes were tired, worried, lonely. She wasn't pretending she truly needed help. Ethan exhaled, stopping his hands for a moment. "It's okay. I'll manage," he said, although he no longer believed his own words. He grabbed his water bottle, used it as makeshift coolant, and poured it slowly into the tank. Steam hissed upward like a warning, but at least it was stabilizing the temperature. Then he secured the loose belt, wiped his hands on his shirt, and stepped back. "Try starting it now," he said. She sat in the driver's seat and turned the key. The engine coughed, sputtered, then roared weakly back to life. Ethan felt a wave of relief wash over him. The woman jumped out with a grateful smile. "It's working. I don't know how to thank you." Ethan picked up his folder, now stained with dust and dirt. "I'm glad I could help," he said. And then he checked his watch again. 9:32 a.m. His breath faltered. The world seemed to tilt. He wasn't just late, he was finished. The woman noticed the pain flash across his face. "Your interview," she whispered. Ethan nodded weakly. "I missed it." A heavy silence hung between them. The buzzing sound of the engine, the gentle wind, the empty road all felt strangely distant now. "Why didn't you tell me?" she asked. Ethan shrugged helplessly. "What was I supposed to do? Leave you stranded on an empty road?" Her eyes softened with something deeper than gratitude, almost guilt, almost sorrow. "You're a rare kind of person," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. But Ethan didn't feel rare. He felt defeated. As he stepped away from the car, the woman watched him walk, shoulders heavy, steps slow. Dreams crushed quietly inside him. He didn't know it yet, but this moment of sacrifice was the reason his story was only beginning. As Ethan stepped out of the building, the world around him suddenly felt larger, heavier, almost as if everything was moving forward except him. The tall glass weight of Horizon Motors gleamed under the morning sun, a symbol of success and opportunity. But for Ethan, its shine held nothing except the reflection of his own disappointment. He lowered his gaze, exhaled slowly, and stared at the grease stains on his shirt. They felt like marks of failure now. Asterisk, the receptionist's apologetic voice kept echoing in his head. Asterisk, sir, the interview panel has already left. Asterisk, those words weighed on him more than the heat, more than the exhaustion of the morning. He walked to a bench outside, sat down, and covered his face with both hands. Everything he had prepared for, his hopes, his plans, his confidence had vanished in a single moment. Asterisk, a few seconds later, his phone buzzed. Asterisk, he checked it. Asterisk, a message from his landlord. Asterisk, rent is overdue. You must pay soon or face consequences. Asterisk, Ethan closed the message instantly. His throat tightened. He wiped his face, unsure whether it was sweat or tears. Why does life always kick me when I'm already down? He whispered to himself. Asterisk, but then, in the middle of his frustration, the image of the stranded woman appeared in his mind, the panic on her face, the helplessness in her eyes. That memory brought a faint smile to his lips. No, he murmured, I did the right thing, even if it cost me everything. Asterisk, yet reality remained cruel. Kindness didn't pay bills, compassion didn't fill stomachs, and goodwill didn't secure jobs. Asterisk, for a while, he sat quietly, watching people rush past him, busy employees, laughing colleagues, confident strangers stepping into the building he had hoped would change his life. Everyone seemed to have a destination. Everyone seemed to belong somewhere. Asterisk, except him. Asterisk, he opened the folder containing his resume, certificates, and letters of recommendation, papers that had once symbolized hope. Now, they felt like reminders of a destiny that wasn't his. He closed the folder and sighed. Asterisk, the sky had begun to cloud over. A chilly breeze swept across the pavement. Ethan stood up, feeling heavier than ever, and began walking toward his tiny apartment. Each step felt like it carried the weight of a missed future. Asterisk, still, a small ember of peace remained inside him. Yes, his dreams had slipped away. Yes, he had lost what might have been his greatest chance. Asterisk, but he had not lost himself. Asterisk, in his heart, he carried something that no rejection could take away: his humanity. Asterisk, little did he know, that small spark of goodness was about to ignite a future brighter than anything he had imagined. Asterisk, evening settled slowly over the quiet neighborhood as Ethan sat outside his apartment, on an old metal chair. The sky faded from gold to a deep blue, the air cooling with the promise of nightfall. Children's laughter echoed faintly from somewhere nearby, but Ethan barely noticed. His mind was trapped, replaying the day, the rush, the struggle, the sacrifice, and the crushing disappointment. Asterisk, his fingers still ached slightly from working on a woman's overheated engine. He stared at them, thinking how ironic life could be. The very hands that saved a stranger had lost him the chance to save himself. Asterisk, just as he leaned back and closed his eyes, his phone buzzed in his pocket. Asterisk, a known number. Asterisk, he hesitated. Probably another bell reminder. Or maybe spam. Still, he answered. Asterisk, hello? Asterisk, a short, calm silence. Then a composed female voice. Asterisk, hello, is this Ethan Carter? Asterisk, yes, this is Ethan. Who's speaking? Asterisk, my name is Laura Williams. Asterisk, Ethan frowned. I'm sorry, do I know you? Asterisk, she paused, then spoke with a warmth that instantly struck him. Asterisk, you helped me today, on the highway. My car had broken down. Asterisk, Ethan sat up straight. Ma'am, your car. I hope you got home safely. I'm sorry, I couldn't fix it perfectly. Asterisk, Laura chuckled softly. Ethan, please, you did more than enough. Asterisk, her voice carried a sincerity that made Ethan swallow hard. Asterisk, then she continued, her tone becoming thoughtful. Asterisk, I watched dozens of cars pass by me today. No one stopped. Everyone was in a hurry. But you had somewhere urgent to be, and still you chose to help. Asterisk, Ethan's voice lowered, guilt touching each word. I had an interview. I was late. Asterisk, I know, she said gently, and I'm truly sorry. Asterisk, there was another pause, a meaningful one. Asterisk, Ethan, she said slowly, I don't often meet people who choose compassion over convenience. Skills can be learned, but character, that's rare. Asterisk, Ethan exhaled shakily. He didn't know what to say. Asterisk, Mom, I didn't do anything special. Asterisk, you did something extraordinary. She corrected him. Asterisk, then her voice shifted, calm but decisive. Asterisk, I want you to come to Horizon Motors tomorrow morning. Asterisk, Ethan froze. His heart skipped. For another interview? Asterisk, no, she said, smiling through her voice. For a job offer. Asterisk, the world around Ethan blurred for a moment. He felt breathless, stunned, overwhelmed. Tears welled up in his eyes without warning. Asterisk, ma'am, I don't know what to say. Asterisk, say nothing. She replied kindly. Just be here at 9 a.m. I'll meet you myself. Asterisk, when the call ended, Ethan remained still for a long time, staring at the darkening sky. For the first time in years, hope didn't feel like an illusion. Asterisk, life had answered him in the most unexpected way. Asterisk, the next morning, Ethan walked into Horizon Motors feeling different, lighter, more grounded. It wasn't confidence, not exactly, but something close, something like acceptance. The receptionist, who had previously greeted him with sympathy, now rose to her feet as soon as she saw him. Asterisk, good morning. Mr. Carter, Ms. Laura is expecting you. Asterisk, expecting me. Asterisk, those words alone felt like sunlight on his bruised spirit. Asterisk, he followed her to an elegant office with glass walls and sleek furnishings. Inside stood Laura Williams, poised, warm, and smiling genuinely. Asterisk, welcome, Ethan, she said. Asterisk, good morning, ma'am, he replied, his voice steady yet humble. Asterisk, without wasting time, Laura gestured for him to sit. Ethan, I'll be direct. People like you, honest, selfless, grounded, are rare. You didn't just fix my car yesterday. You showed integrity when no one was watching. Asterisk, Ethan lowered his eyes. Ma'am, I only did what felt right. Asterisk, she leaned forward slightly. Exactly. Most people don't. Asterisk, she opened a drawer and pulled out a folder. Ethan assumed it was paperwork, maybe forms. But when she spread it open, his breath caught. Asterisk, a contract. Asterisk, a senior mechanical analyst position. Asterisk, a salary far beyond anything he'd ever imagined earning. Asterisk, his hands trembled slightly. Ma'am, this can't be for me. Asterisk, Laura smiled softly. It is. You proved your worth before you ever stepped into this building. Skills brought you here, but your heart earned you this. Asterisk, Ethan felt his throat tighten. Years of struggle, rejection, financial stress, sleepless nights, all of it flashed before his eyes. And now, sitting here, it felt like the universe had finally decided to be kind. Asterisk, he whispered. I've been trying for so long. Doors always felt closed. I never understood why. Asterisk, Laura replied gently. Asterisk, sometimes life makes you open someone else's door. Asterisk, so that your own door can finally open. Asterisk, Ethan laughed softly, relieved, emotional, grateful. Asterisk, thank you. Thank you so much. Asterisk, she extended her hand. Asterisk, welcome to Horizon Motors, Ethan Carter. Asterisk, as he shook her hand, he felt something shift within him like a new engine roaring to life. Smooth and powerful. The burden he had carried for years suddenly felt lighter. The hallway outside the office looked brighter. His dreams no longer seemed distant, they were right in front of him. Asterisk, while walking out of the building, he smiled to himself. Asterisk, if kindness takes something from you, asterisk, it returns something greater. Asterisk, and with that thought, Ethan stepped forward into a future shaped not by ambition, but by the goodness he carried in his heart.